Did you happen to hear what Alex Jones said today about Islam being the religion of choice for the globalists?
The globalists are Luciferians. I think you mean Islam is the globalists' religion of choice for us, whom they consider their cattle.
Yes, that is what I mean. Alex was talking about how people with an authoritarian ethos are easier to control because they all tend to conform.
I heard part of that, yes. Of course, I was already aware of that.
Yes, but I was wondering about something related to that.
Yes?
Do you think it's possible that in the 1980s the globalists were thinking that perhaps they could control human outcomes through manipulating Christianity?
There is a very strong precedent for that. They've been controlling hordes of humanity through organized religion since, well, probably since Constantine codified the governance of the church in the 300s. And the Egyptian mystery schools prior to that. The position of the Pope has been used to control and direct humanity for many hundreds of years.
I wonder why the globalists no longer find that sufficient.
I think we both agree that a large-scale awakening of humanity is in process. The old control mechanisms are failing. Jesus did, after all, teach freedom, that we are free from sin, and that God himself wants to be our direct Lord and King. The Muslims have no such teaching about freedom. They're taught to conform and obey.
I'm wondering if using the Muslims is a fallback position.
Because the Church has sought to cast off the authority of the Vatican?
Partly. I've been thinking about something else, though, something more recent. Do you remember me telling you that I used to participate in what was, in the 1970s, called the discipleship movement?
Of course. The groups that had home churches with very authoritarian leaders.
Exactly. The church of which I was a part was somewhat like NXIVM, only without the tattoos.
Oh? I've never heard you speak of it in that way.
Well, we didn't have the sex slavery, though many were advised on whom they should marry. It was definitely very authoritarian. Sometimes I wonder whether we were being intentionally trained, groomed, to become the serving class to help bring in globalist authoritarianism.
How would that have worked?
Well, the Republicans were very much in control then, and we were pretty strongly encouraged to become involved in Republican politics. If you remember, I myself served on city council in a town in Ohio.
I remember.
Do you also remember George H.W. Bush talking about the faith-based initiatives and the 1,000 points of light?
I do remember.
The authoritarian church groups of which I was a part were very excited about that proposition. We thought our faith was going to be mainstreamed, so to speak. But looking back, I wonder, do you think it's possible that the globalists were including us in their plans because they thought we would be easy to control through the mechanisms of the churches of which we were a part?
That's very likely, yes. There is much historical precedent for that sort of behavior.
I wonder why they have now switched from trying to work through churches to preying upon the Islamic communities, making them their pawns to help bring about their satanic New World Order.
The Internet has been so effective at disseminating truth, which Christians naturally seek passionately, that many Christians have awakened and will no longer so blindly follow or welcome authoritarian leaders. The globalists despise individualism. I suppose that's one reason they work through groups like NXIVM, to control Hollywood. As you know, they virtually always try to use a top-down model for organization. So, it stands to reason that they are constantly looking around for tight groups that welcome authoritarian direction. The Muslims certainly fit that bill. Also, at a certain point, as the globalists become more open about their worship of Satan, there is a fundamental incompatibility with Christianity. And choosing Islam is not an afterthought. Hitler was a globalist puppet, and he aligned with Islam. Also, Aleister Crowley planned a global conflict between Christianity and Islam that would lead to World War III. And remember,
yes,
Muslims generally regard pedophilia as acceptable.
I seem to remember Muhammad himself took a child bride.
Yes, I think she was 9.
Wow. The discipleship movement never went that far. And I must say that there were some positive aspects, and watching it come to an end was sad. but if it was controlled at the top to use us participating Christians to achieve a dark agenda, I'm glad the plan fell apart. Now I'm wondering whether NXIVM was developed with the same idea of putting together a very authoritarian group who willingly serve the elite, no matter what.
Of course, we don't know for certain what happened at the top of the discipleship movement. Maybe the social controllers were practicing on the Christians to see what might work. It was a ready-made group that they could tinker with, whereas they had to start pretty much from scratch to develop NXIVM.
We do know that one of the discipleship leaders, Bob Mumford, later wrote this book, Dr. Frankenstein and World Systems, to help explain his experiences and how even well-intentioned groups can find themselves a part of the world system.
Yes, a caution which all of us must always keep in mind, and a brilliant must-read short book.